All right, here we go. Another episode, Man-Child Show with Boy Green. And we're not breaking new ground, but we are bringing in an old friend. And you see him right next to me there. He's our NBA insider. He's the one. He's the only. He's Sean Devaney. And Boy Green has entered the room as well in the fold. Welcome, Boy Green. Sean, how are you? Happy New Year to you, my friend.
I'm doing well. Good to. I consider it the new year when I finally get to come on with you guys. So this is New Year's Day as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Well, fantastic. Good to have you back. Good to be talking NBA. We have some things to talk about. Like, how about my team winning the cup and then electing not to hang a banner at Madison Square Garden? I think a very good decision by the Knicks, by the way, Sean, if our goals are much greater, and they certainly should be. But give me your thoughts on the NBA Cup. It's been a couple of seasons now. Is it getting spicy? Is it interesting to NBA fans? Does it make NBA basketball in the month of December more interesting?
Yeah, I mean, and that was the goal is to give fans something to focus on during sort of those dog days when everybody's paying attention to football, and at least you've got something that that you can kind of latch onto, and that teams can latch onto. I think the league has done a good job of making sure that the teams know that this will be successful if they play for it like they care. If the teams care, then the fans will care. And if this was something where the teams were more annoyed by it than anything else, then it would fail. But the teams have bought into it. The players have bought into it. And it's a moneymaker for the league. And that's something that they needed at that time of year because it was just so easy to overlook basketball in November and December.
Sean, quick follow-up. Was it a mandate from the NBA for the first 2 years of this cup that a banner must be hoisted up into the rafters so, it had some level of credibility or something of that nature?
And I don't believe it was a mandate. No, I think teams were probably strongly encouraged to, like I say, take this thing seriously and make it mean something. We see it in other leagues. You see it in soccer, for instance, in Europe, and that's what this is based on. Is they have different cups, and you win the cup, and it's a big deal. This is very artificial. This is not something that is that is a 50-year-old tradition. So yeah, they've had to sort of fast forward that and make it matter, whether or not it matters. So I don't think there was any mandate from the league, but certainly the mandate has been, hey, take this seriously. We'll all make money if you take this seriously, and they've done that.
If Manchild's Knicks don't win the NBA championship this year, should they feel okay that they at least won the NBA Cup instead?
I don't think that's where there's a kind of a disconnect here, right? Is that in the end, I don't think anybody will say, well, we came up short, but we've got the third annual NBA Cup we've managed to win. I don't think that. So it's like I say, it's a nice distraction early on in the year. It does not carry much weight beyond that, however.
Well, we've got some fresh blood in the water when it comes to talking about the Knicks because Craig Carton made his return to WFAN this week off of the criminal activity that put him in jail for a while. And his first big guest was the one, the only James Dolan, our illustrious owner or nefarious owner, whichever way you want to go. And Dolan had some interesting things to say, and he was pressed by Carton to talk about the firing of Tom Thibodeau and why he picked Mike Brown and so on and so forth. I'm hoping you've caught some pieces of it, Sean. I certainly have. I'm still dissecting it a bit. I can't say that I love Dolan all that much, but he had some interesting things to say. How do you dissect what he had to say about Tibbs and what his limits were perhaps with this New York Knicks squad? Because he certainly did a great job in the years that he was in charge.
Yeah, and I agree with you that, whatever you think about Dolan, for him to go up and go on the radio and answer questions and obviously not have sort of restrictions on what you can ask me about, that, good for him. I mean, there's just not a lot of owners that do that. It'd be nice if the general manager of the Knicks would do that once in a while as well, but, take what you can get, I guess. But I thought what was interesting about Dolan and what he said about Thibodeau was the things that we had kind of heard that you kind of knew about Tibbs, and he just kind of said the things that we'd all kind of speculated on, and even people in the building, wouldn't really talk about it like that bluntly. But he basically said, look, Tibbs is a hard guy to get along with, and we've all kind of known that. But it's weird to hear his employer come out and say that. Certainly when you look at Tibbs's history, why he got fired in Chicago, why he got fired in Minnesota, that's been his reputation, is that he has a shelf life where at some point you say, I can't deal with this guy anymore. So I think it does sort of put it in a different light, when you hear, somebody on the record saying the things that you kind of hear in the background. So that was really interesting, and I didn't think Tibbs deserved to get fired, but like you say, you never know what's going on in the background, and certainly if the owner feels like you're not being responsive to him and what he wants with the team, that's probably going to cost you your job, and that's what wound up happening.
Sean, I mean, is Mike Brown the answer? I mean, so he was the Knicks' answer. We have a small sample size, at least, to look at right now. The Knicks do look a little different. Certainly, the players, the star players, are not playing the kind of minutes that they were playing under Tibbs, which sounds, again, like one of the major complaints they had with him, and it didn't seem like he was willing to buckle on that. So give me your thoughts, early discussion here, on how Mike Brown has handled the moment here in New York. You want to add something?
Lurch, that is two-time Coach of the Year, yes. Mike Brown. I just want to make sure that gets in there somewhere. Go ahead, Joe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, when they hired him, I think you were as unimpressed with that as I was. But the one thing about Mike Brown is that, his time in Cleveland, he was pretty rigid in how he wanted to play. He didn't really have an offense. It wasn't really, beautiful basketball that it was kind of get the ball to LeBron and then let's get back and play defense. And that was kind of it. When he went to Sacramento, he did make some changes. Coached as an assistant with Steve Kerr, and that certainly, exposed him to different ways of thinking about offense. And he put some of that into effect. That the Kings actually played pretty well for Mike Brown if you go back and look at it. So he's a different coach, I think, than what his reputation says. But I think the thing that he's done is sort of take what the Knicks have and try to use it as a whole. And I think one of his important stops is he did coach with Greg Popovich. And the thing that Popovich would always do, especially early in the year, is play a lot of his young guys, a lot of the end of the bench, a lot of the end of the roster to kind of see what he had and see who he could come to, when things got hairy later in the year. And I think we've seen Mike Brown do that. I think that's a lesson that he's taken from Pop. And I think we've seen, a guy like Tyler Kolek, obviously, you came into the year thinking that they're going to need a backup point guard. They're going to need a backup point guard. They're going to need they don't need a backup point guard. I mean, they've got one. And that's something that Mike Brown has done here that you can pretty directly say Tibbs wouldn't have done.
Yeah, there's some narrative out there that when Kolek is in there, they're actually operating better than when Brunson is essentially running the point. And I think that Brunson could actually, play the off guard position or be a second guard in an offense with Kolek if the Knicks wanted to go that route. Give me your thoughts on that. I'm glad you brought up Kolek because that was going to be my next question.
Yeah, I would not say I'd rather have Kolek running the show, all the time. I think it's a good thing to have. It's sort of like Dante DiVincenzo was the same way, where you could give him those 10 minutes where he's running the offense and Brunson's playing off him a little bit, and it gives Brunson a break. It gives the defense a different look, But that's short stretches. But over a 48-minute game, with Brunson playing 35, 36 minutes, if you give him 10 minutes where he's off the ball, again, it gives them a different look. It gives him a little bit of a rest from constantly having to create, and then you get to that fourth quarter and he's in better position to make to do some more creating, to make some more plays, and have a little bit more left in the tank. So yeah, I think that's been a very, very good development for them, and something that as you go forward, you hope that they keep building on that, so that's there for them in the playoffs.
Sean, it's been a long time since we've had you on, but it's comforting to know that, wait a second, here are the standings. Ah, yes, the Knicks are below the Celtics where they belong. Interesting. No matter what changes, everything stays the same. No Jason Tatum, no problem. Interesting, Sean, that all this Nick NBA Cup guy over there still below the Celtics.
Early, pal.
Interesting.
I think it's no coincidence that on the first day that the Celtics are over the Knicks, that's when you decide to have me on. You were just waiting for that to happen.
Yeah.
It's like, let's get Sean on. No, look, the Celtics have played, this has been an unbelievable, Jaylen Brown, obviously, who has, kind of taken the villain role and saying, hey, look at me, he's kind of taken the heel turn. If this was wrestling and saying, I'm the best in the league, look at me, so that's been interesting. But Derek White, I think he doesn't get enough credit. He has been fantastic for them, like night in and night out, both sides of the ball. He has been absolutely fantastic for them, and they've done a nice job getting role players and bringing them along. Jordan Walsh has been really good. As third-year player, didn't play much before this year. He's been very good. Keita has been very good, the big man. So they've really done well to sort of fill in the gaps. Now you wait and see. Does Jason Tatum come back, and if he does, can he be any kind of percentage of his old self?
Well, look, there are some very interesting across the league stories that I want to get to with you, Sean. Today's broadcast, by the way, is brought to you by our friends at Bayberry Automotive. It's the Man-Child Show with Boy Green Digital. Don't forget to pop that subscribe button. Become part of our growing community. You can always like us, too, by hitting the thumbs up, but we appreciate you. You see the link right there, youtube.com/@MCShowDigital, where we're giving away free stuff. Getting ready to give away a Jets program from 1972, getting ready to give away some bobbleheads from the movie Anchorman. So we're into all kinds of crazy memorabilia. We'll do anything to bribe you and become part of our subscribers, become part of our growing community. So if you're willing to do that, please do so. Let's just take 30 seconds, learn a little bit more about our friends at Bayberry. More with Sean Devaney right after this.
Integrity is a word that some people just throw around in life. But at Bayberry Automotive, integrity is everything. Integrity of their mechanics, who are all experienced and certified. Integrity in the work they perform, with nothing but 5-star reviews from satisfied customers on Google. Integrity that goes along with family, a family-run business that treats you like one of their own. Integrity in everything. Bayberry Automotive. BayberryAutomotive.com.
Located on Route 57 across from Bayberry Plaza, the premier choice for auto repair in Liverpool.
All right, we're back inside the NBA with Sean Devaney, our NBA insider, Man-Child Show with Boy Green Digital. Some great stories across the league. You mentioned the emergence, dare I say. Jaylen Brown's always been a good player, but he has emerged here a little bit. As you said, the chest is thumping. He's out a little bit right now. In the absence of Jason Tatum, a lot of people thought the Celtics would fall apart. They have not fallen apart. Is this sustainable in your mind? Will the Celtics be contenders in the East based on what you've seen so far this season?
Yeah, I think there's two factors there. One is the Celtics have played well. I think Joe Mazzulla has done a great job coaching. I didn't mention Peyton Pritchard's been fantastic as well. They've done a number of things. Anthony Simons, who they were trying to trade, they were trying to get below the tax level and trying to find a way to dump him. He has come in and really found a role with that team too. So yeah, the answer is yes. I think they've got enough to be a contender in the East. They're in the West. You're talking, a play-in tournament. In the East, no question, they can be a top 3-4 team, and then you get the wild card of Jason Tatum. And the East is just not very good this year. So yeah, there's going to be that opportunity for them to certainly be a top 4 team. To get a first-round playoff series at home, and then you kind of go from there. You see where it goes. But yeah, I think there's no doubt, and we'll see what happens with Tatum. I think that's the thing that takes them from a nice story, and maybe they went around in the playoffs to this team could really do something in the playoffs if Tatum comes back.
And speaking of the East, again. I have to scroll down to try to find them down there, not like my Celtics up there. But what about the Greek freak, Giannis? Is that real? We've been hearing all the trade whispers for months, but is that a legitimate thing to watch?
Yeah, look, there's still the possibility that this all unravels and he finally goes to them and says trade me. they're not going to trade him until that happens. And we've been talking about this for a year. Going back to last year, that's what I said, and I think that continues to be the case. They're not going to trade him until he comes to them and says, "Get me out of here." If he doesn't, then he's their player, and they're gonna, that front office doesn't want to be the front office that traded Giannis, so they're not going to do that. It's probably a bad idea. I mean, it reminds me of the Damian Lillard situation in Portland, and Portland waited too long to make that move. I mean, look, you get two chances to make a trade, right? You do it in the offseason in the summer, you do it at the trade deadline. So you get 2 periods kind of to make that decision. They let this period every time you let one of those periods go, you're going to get less and less and less in return. And that's what Milwaukee is doing. So, they played better. Giannis is back. I think he's a little ticked off. I think he's kind of tired of all this. I think he realizes he's not going anywhere. So he's playing better. As I mentioned, the East isn't bad. I think they've won 4 out of 5 since he's been back. So, they could be a factor in the East. They could be a team that will be in the playoffs. But I think it's just not good for any of the sides here. I think it'd be much better if they just moved on from him. But again, Milwaukee's not going to do that until he comes to them and says, "I want out."
A quick follow-up. A couple of months ago, there was that Knicks Giannis thing. Was that real? Where the Knicks apparently had a very brief negotiating window where they would have had a chance to, like, okay, you want Greek Freak, let's get serious here, and then nothing happened, so then it went away. Was any of that real?
That was another interesting thing that Dolan talked about, that he was asked about. And he said, no, he said that never happened. Now, of course, probably, given the situation and the fact that he doesn't want to aggravate players already on the team, he might have told a little bit of a white lie there. But I do think that the notion that, the Knicks were this close to getting Giannis, I don't think that's quite accurate. I do think that there were some talks, but not anything that got close.
I've already seen him a couple of times in game action. I mean, you can watch him any night you want, but I am becoming more and more fascinated with Victor Wembanyama. It kind of brings me back, Sean, to the days of Wilt and Kareem, where, was just this kind of freakish nature about the size of these guys and how much bigger they were than everyone else. And that guy is seriously bigger than everyone else. And then you link up his skill set as well, right, and you see that he actually can play the game. How good can he become? Is he going to be one of those iconic big men, or is he just always going to kind of be really good but not great? Give me your thoughts on that.
He's got a different kind of skill set than I've ever seen for a guy his size. I mean, it's not normal. Porzingis, when he first came in, was sort of that kind of player, was supposed to be that kind of player, but, never really had the work ethic to get there. This guy, you can tell right away. I mean, he's got it. And he's going to put in every amount of work necessary to get himself to the next level. The question is, you talk about guys who are 7'4", you start talking about Bill Walton, you start talking about, Ralph Sampson, you start talking about Yao Ming, other really, really skilled, very, very big men who found in the end that, to be 7'4", 7'5", and to play a game that takes the sort of physical toll on you that basketball does, you probably just can't hold up. And that's the big concern with them. We were seeing it already this year. Obviously he had sort of a different issue last year with the deep vein thrombosis stuff. But, certainly it's tough. Those little bones in your feet, those little bones in your, those ligaments in your knees, all those things aren't really designed to have a 7'4" person, running up and down a floor for 40 minutes a night. So, that's what you worry about. But if he stays healthy, man, really the sky's the limit. You can tell with him.
What about Greg Popovich? No longer the head coach, unfortunately, which stinks for all of us. We'd love to see him patrolling the old, hardwood there for the Spurs. But he's in this new angel role with the Spurs. What have we heard anything from Greg Popovich, or has he just been sipping his wine in the dark? We haven't been seeing him much.
Popovich has always said that when he retires, he will move to the background. I think that he wants to continue to be associated with the Spurs and give Mitch Johnson as much help as he asks for, but he's never going to insert himself. He's not going to do that. He's not going to be a Pat Riley kind of thing, where he's got to make the decisions. He's got to tinker, and he's got to, have the threat of him coming back to the sideline. That's just not going to be what happens with Popovich. And so, yeah, I do think that he's got a presence there. And that when ownership or the front office or the coaching staff comes to him with an issue, he is going to get involved, but he's not going to get involved unless he's asked.
Sean, last one for me is on Oklahoma City, and the record would say so, but is it true? Have they essentially separated themselves from the pack? Are they clearly the best team in basketball right now, and barring injury, a pretty good shot to win another title here?
Yeah, I think that's true. And they're going through a little bit of a lull now. Certainly, we've seen the Spurs have their number, and that's something to keep an eye on. The Spurs are 3-0 against them this year, so that's going to be a challenge for Oklahoma City. But when you look at the depth, when you look at the talent level up front, and then the talent level coming off the bench, they're head and shoulders above everybody else. So, I do think San Antonio can give them a run. I think San Antonio might be a little bit young and green when you get into the playoffs. So I think that's going to be, perhaps an issue. Denver's good, and Denver's probably they're having a little bit of a lull with Jokic out now, but that might not be bad for them. Get Jokic some rest here and see how he is down the stretch. They're as deep as they've been. It might be the best team that Jokic has had around him. So, they're going to be a threat. Houston is certainly playing well, and they've got a certain level of toughness to them. Ime Udoka's done a great job there. Now they've got Durant, but they're missing a point guard, with Van Vliet out, and so they're probably not quite on that level. And so there's definitely other contenders in the West, but I think when you look at the talent level, Oklahoma City's just head and shoulders above everybody else.
And let me just add this one too. Do you think this is it? Is this the last hurrah for LeBron this season? Do you think he'll continue to play, or do you think this is it?
Yeah, I think this is it. I really do. There is part of me that says he's going to want a tour, but I don't know. You can tell that he's not enjoying this. I don't think he's having a good time this season. I think he needs to get out of the Lakers, and so then the question for him is, do you really want to go play somewhere else? He's in LA. He lives in LA. He's doing a lot of entertainment stuff, and so he wants to be in LA. Do you really want to go back to Cleveland? Do you want to go to Miami, wherever it is, and kind of start all over and just play another year there? I don't think he really wants to do that. So I do think there's a pretty strong chance. If I was given a percentage, I'd probably put out like 70% chance that this is it for LeBron. He's still very good. Obviously, he's got the talent. It's just he doesn't seem to really be enjoying it the way he has in the past.
A quick follow-up, another thing. Was this really close? We get like the truth finder here with Sean Devaney. We heard all the LeBron, Golden State Warriors trade, this, that, or the other. Was anything to that, or was that all nonsense?
No, I think from the Warriors' perspective, they were very interested in trying to make it happen. This is a couple of years ago. Lately that has not been much of a discussion, but a couple of years ago that was certainly something that was the Warriors were actively pursuing that. The Lakers had no interest though, so it does take two to tango. But it wasn't like it wasn't being discussed. It was being discussed. It was just more of a one-way discussion, with the Warriors saying, hey, what would it take? How about if we did this? How about if we did that? And nothing came to fruition. But Golden State probably would have pulled the trigger if the Lakers were more interested.
Well, Sean, again, I understand the one-way discussions. We have that when he's talking about his Knicks title chances versus the Celtics title chances. It's normally sort of a one-way thing. I'm like, yeah, sure, go Celtics. So yeah, I understand that completely. Yes.
Yeah. I always wonder what your discussions are like when you're talking about the Jets and the Giants, because what
Dumb and dumber these days, isn't it? Yeah,
it's a race to the bottom for those, but at least basketball, you got
there you go,
some competitive teams.
Yeah.
Well, Sean, very much looking forward to our weekly conversations. Thanks for starting them up with us again, and we'll be talking all things NBA with you each and every week. Thanks for joining us here.
All right, thanks, guys.